I was a professional footballer, then I became the first woman to qualify as a combat diver in the Australian Defence Force. Then I walked into a tech company and everyone assumed I'd have to start at the very bottom and earn my stripes from scratch. I didn't. I went straight onto the deal side. Then I built a cybersecurity business to $100 million in revenue. After that, I led sales and go-to-market across the region for one of the largest cybersecurity companies in the world. I'm going to walk you through the whole path: soccer pitch, combat diver, enterprise tech, and now to founder. Because the thing that almost everyone gets wrong about tech sales is believing their background disqualifies them. Mine should have. On paper, nothing about an officer who played soccer says hand her the biggest accounts in the region. But that background was never the thing I had to overcome. It was the exact reason I was good at this. Every pivot I made, people called a step backwards. I'm going to show you why every single one of them compounded instead, and why, if you're trying to build or lead a revenue team, the discipline that builds an elite career anywhere is the same discipline that builds one here. I found soccer at 5 and never let go of it. It's in the blood. My whole childhood was built around it, and the plan was to always go pro. At 17, I hit my first crossroads: chase the A-League or join the army. I actually ended up choosing the army, but I refused to give up on the football dream. Years later, I went to my bosses, got myself recognized as an elite athlete, and ended up playing in the A-League whilst I was serving. My first season, I joined Perth Glory, and that year Sam Kerr came home and brought half of the Matildas back with her. We won every single game of the season except the grand final. Funny story to even get to this point: I filmed every game of my NPL season and created a highlights reel to cold email 3 A-League coaches I knew would consider outside talent. I got 2 opportunities, one with Perth Glory and one with Melbourne Victory. I took the Perth trials and was one of 30 ultimately offered a spot on a superstar team that season. That was a key lesson that set the floor for everything that came after. You don't wait to be discovered, you do the work nobody sees, and you put yourself in the room with people operating at a level above you. That is what an elite environment does to you. It sets a standard you carry for the rest of your life, and a level which you simply couldn't imagine operating at without it. And here's what took me years to understand: playing at that level was never a gift. It was a standard I held myself to every day, whether anyone was watching or not. Nobody handed it to me. I built it, which meant that I could take it anywhere. The army is where I learned the harder version of that you can train the same standard into other people, creating a great culture and environment around you, and ultimately achieving things you would have never thought were possible. I turned up to Duntroon at 18. Townsville kid, 30 degrees back home, but 2 degrees on the Canberra parade ground. Frostbite on my toes on day 1. Still bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and ready to take on the world. Officer track. 18 months in one of the best leadership institutions there is, learning how to lead in the environment where it actually counts. I graduated into combat engineering, construction and demolitions, building forward operating bases, the SAFA capability, made captain at 20, leading 30 plus people, and then I became the first female to qualify as a combat engineering diver in the ADF, the closest thing the Army has to Special Forces standard that there is, and brutal mentally and physically. 2 moments stand out reflecting back on leadership lessons and experiences. First, it's midnight. Urban training ground, 30 soldiers under me, everything drilled into the second. Spotlight snaps on, the raid goes loud, and the ground changes. The plan no longer fits, and 30 people are waiting on me. I called it on the spot, changed the course mid-raid, and the troops turned with me because the standard had been built long before that night. Secondly, similar experience on the dive course, where the instructor told the cohort that there's the first female diver on this course, but if you have a problem, there's the door. Not only was I successful as a diver, but I was instrumental in contributions that the combat diving doctrine as one of few for years to come, improving the capability across the entire Defence Force. High performance and leadership is not a mood you find on a good day. It's a standard you uphold every day, even during times of uncertainty. Leading at that age is not glamorous. I had to fire people, I had to sit inside investigations, there was nowhere to hide from the responsibility. And that's where the belief cracked open for me. I assumed leadership was character. You either had it or you didn't. Duntroon showed me it's the opposite. It's the reps, the standards, the feedback, drilled in until their instinct. It's a system you get trained on, and the mechanics don't change whether you're leading a troop of soldiers or a revenue team. So when a friend of mine from Duntroon started pulling veterans into tech, I didn't need any convincing. My friend had medically discharged out of Afghanistan and built a company moving veterans into digital careers. I messaged him, basically asking, I want to get into tech, what can I do? His answer was really simple, and it was one word: sales. He had connections into SAP. Through that door, I landed a commercial account executive role, not an SDR, straight onto the deal side, carrying mid-market across ANZ. My first deal was Petters, and it was a genuine culture shock. Army to corporate, a whole new language, people rolling into meetings 5 minutes late, when in my world, a minute late meant you'd killed your whole troop. New hire training in California, driving around Silicon Valley. A seasoned seller looks over to me and he says, God, you're so lucky to land here. straight out of the army, not even an SDR year, straight into an AE seat I had no obvious right to. Lucky was the wrong word. I had decided before I arrived that I would not shrink to fit the seat. I rolled my sleeves up, and by the end I had topped the class in the pitch contests in a room full of people who had done this for years. I belonged in that moment, and it set the whole rest of my career up for success. My resume looked abnormal. I had none of this jargon. On paper, I was the wrong candidate for the opportunity that I walked into. But here's the belief I'd hand to anyone listening. A real background lets you enter above the bottom rung. You don't delete who you were to get in. You translate it. High agency, standards, the ability to read a room and build trust fast. None of that is soft. It is the job. The army had already trained it into all of me. SAP just changed the uniform. SAP taught me the commercial machinery, the economics, the budgets, the language of a buyer. After this, I went in and I built the machine myself. At this point, a former military officer was running a tech distributor, and he specifically wanted an ex-officer to build out the cybersecurity practice. I met him at an industry event, and I went first on ground for the whole unit in that business. I brought in a technical director, I built the team to around 25 people, and I took that cyber practice from roughly $4 million to $100 million in top-line revenue over about 4 years, bringing Silicon Valley and Israeli cyber companies into the APAC market through the channel. I did my MBA alongside it, got the experience, hands-on, to build a business from scratch. We did something the market was not doing. Instead of the same polished profile everyone fought over, we brought in people from backgrounds that nobody in tech was hiring for, ex-military operators, and pointed their talent in the corporate world. Two things made it work. The talent, first and foremost, always, and the bets we placed on the startups that were unknown at the time and some of the biggest logos now. With that, we built an edge that nobody could copy. First on ground means there's no playbook. You are the playbook. And that's the cost nobody sees, the pressure of building the thing while you're standing in it. And that's where I stopped being someone who runs inside the machine and became someone who builds it. The team, the partners, the positioning, the whole go-to-market motion. My military lens made it click. National security, attacker versus defender. Cyber was the easiest thing in the world for me to sell with real conviction. I got about 10 years of reps compressed into 4 purely because of that vantage point. And that vantage point put me on the radar of the biggest cybersecurity company in the world. Palo Alto Networks, selling into the Global 2000, the top 200 accounts across the entire Asia Pacific and Japan region, the top 20 companies in Australia, the top 25 in India, etc. I spent 4 years there leading sales and go-to-market. To give you a sense of that scale, one deal was a security transformation deal for one of the largest banks in the world. Hundreds of thousands of staff, 5 sellers on it, leadership, plus the CEO, a 9-figure number. On that bank deal, my seat was the entry point, owned the opening of the security transformation motion, the part that decides whether the whole thing is even possible, and set the tone for what the region believed we could go after as a repeatable motion. That was the part that was genuinely mine, not the 9-figure headline, the doorway. Once we proved it at that scale, we replicated the motion across pursuit after pursuit. At the top, the leverage is rarely in the noise. It is in owning the one moment that unlocks the entirety. The quota shadow never leaves. There's always a number over your head forever. Enterprise cycles run 3, 6, 12 months, sometimes 2 or 3 years, across a coalition of stakeholders who all have to say yes. In the comparison trap, your quarter against everyone else's quietly eats reps alive. Here's what I watch most people get wrong at that level. They optimize for activity, noise, when the actual game is leverage. The top 1% work backwards from the customer's real problem, pairs a bias for action with genuine strategic depth, and influences outcomes rather than just making more calls. Strategic, not just busy. And standing at the top of that game, the through line finally clicked, and it had nothing to do with a sales background. Footballer, combat diver, army officer, the furthest thing from tech sales you could draw up, and the exact reason I thrived in it. High agency, bias for action, a standard I refuse to drop. The ability to read a room and translate technical risk into a business decision someone would actually sign. The best operators I've ever worked with weren't the ones with the perfect CV. They were the ones who brought a trained standard and pointed it at a new domain. The year before, I had been named Rising Star across the industry, but the one that made it undeniable was the second one, for innovation, for dragging security to the forefront of the room where nobody else was, off the back of the $100 million business that was built from 4. Every one of those awards would have gone to someone with a flawless resume. On paper, I should really have not have been in the room, but that was the point. The recognition came because of the against-the-grain approach, not despite it. Embrace the thing that makes you the wrong candidate, and it becomes the reason you win. Every pivot I made, someone told me was a step backward, and every single one of them added a layer instead. Because background doesn't disqualify you. it compounds. Leadership and standards are trainable and they're portable. That's the whole game. And once you actually believe that, the ceiling everyone told you about just isn't there, which is exactly why I walked away from the top of it for more to teach it. Before this, I had one more crossroads. I'd gotten deep into the VC and angel world. Startmate, advising startups, and I had to be honest with myself about the question underneath it. Do I advise from the sidelines or do I get in the arena? I couldn't sit there offering go-to-market services to founders and not be one myself. So I burnt the boats and I left Palo Alto Networks. I co-founded Double Triple in March 2026. We train individuals to break into and level up in tech sales, and we build the revenue teams that hire them. Early traction, 50,000, 60,000, 100,000, 200,000, on track for 7 figures in the first year. The momentum is the signal and the impact is real. The message that I keep coming back to came from someone who, on paper, had no business being in tech at all. Weeks in, they landed an offer they never let themselves imagine and told me I would not have even attempted to get into tech without Double Triple. That's the whole thing in one line. The tradie, the nanny, the personal trainer, the business owner that the CEO bets on, who gets to learn the craft and build something of their own. People tripling their income, working into AE seats straight off the bat instead of starting at the bottom. Everyone is my own story handed to someone else, and watching that door open will never get old. Entrepreneurship is not for the faint-hearted. It's the ultimate test. Every mirror up at once, but I've done every part of this from the outside. Soccer, the Army, SAP, NextGen, Palo Alto Networks, and that's precisely why I can hand it over. The company side, building the revenue teams, installing the leadership, choosing the right people and pointing them at the right thing, that's the game that I actually want to play. Every pivot I made came with uncertainty. Footballer to officer, officer to a job I'd never done, a safe seat to building one from 4 million to the top of the industry to a company with 3 months of revenue behind it. Not one of them was a step back. Each one compounded, and the reason I can teach this is that I've done it from the outside every single time. I was never the obvious candidate. I was the one who took a standard into a new game and won with it anyway. So if you're building a revenue team or you want to lead one, or you're sitting in a career people keep telling you you can't take anywhere, there's something in the description for you. Check it out and I'll see you there.